Wednesday, October 8. Wednesday, October 8. And Wednesday, October 8 says conflicting values. Conflicting values. And we are going to read from Joshua chapter 9, verse 1 to 20. Joshua chapter 9, verse 1 to 20. And verse 1 to 20 says, "And it came to pass when all the kings who were on this side of Jordan, in the hills and in the lowland, and in all the coast of the great seaward toward Lebanon, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, and the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusites, heard about it, that they gathered together to fight with Joshua and Israel with one accord. But when the inhabitants of the Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai, they worked craftily and went and pretended to be ambassadors. And they took old sacks on their donkeys, old wineskins, torn and mended, 5 old and patched sandals on their feet, and old garments on themselves, and all the bread of their provision was dry and moldy. And they went to Joshua to the camp at Gilgal, and said to him and to the men of Israel, "We have come from a far country. Now therefore make a covenant with us." Then the men of Israel said to the Hivites, "Perhaps you dwell among us, so how can we make a covenant with you?" But they say to Joshua, "We are your servants." And Joshua said to them, "Who are you, and where do you come from?" So they say to him, "From a very far country your servants have come, because of the name of the Lord your God. For we have heard of his fame and all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did to the 2 kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon king of Heshbon, and to Og king of Bashan, who was at Ashtaroth. Therefore, our elders and all the inhabitants of our country spoke to us, saying, Take provisions with you for the journey, and go to meet them, and say to them, We are your servants. Now therefore make a covenant with us." That was Joshua chapter 9, verse 1 to 20. And I read from the New King James Version. And we need to be asking ourselves, what are the similarities and differences between the story of Rahab and that of the Gibeonites? Why are they meaningful? So what are the differences between the story of Rahab and that of the Gibeonites, and why are they meaningful? Explanation for Wednesday, the conflicting values. And remember, we just read Joshua chapter 9, verse 1 to 20. And so the explanation says, this chapter of Joshua starts by informing us that the Canaanite kings, who usually ruled over small city-states, decided to create a coalition against the Israelites. By contrast, the inhabitants of Gibeon decided to establish a covenant with Israel. In order to trick the Israelites into making a covenant with them, the Gibeonites resort to the scheme of being ambassadors from a foreign country. According to Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 10 to 18, God made a distinction between the Canaanites and the people who lived outside the promised land. And so let us check out Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 10 to 18. Deuteronomy chapter 20, verses 10 to 18. And verses 10 to 18 says, When you go near a city to fight against it, then proclaim an offer of peace to it. And it shall be that if they accept your offer of peace and open to you, then all the people who are found in it shall be placed under tribute to you and serve you. Now, if the city will not make peace with you, but war against you, then you shall besiege it. 13. And when the Lord your God delivers it into your hands, you shall strike every male in it with the edge of the sword. But the women, the little ones, the livestock, and all that is in the city, all its spoil, you shall plunder for yourself, and you shall eat the enemy's plunder, which the Lord your God gives you. Thus you shall do to all the cities which are very far from you, which are not of the cities of these nations, but of the cities of these peoples, which the Lord your God gives you as an inheritance. You shall let nothing that breathes remain alive, but you shall utterly destroy them. The Hittite and the Amorite and the Canaanite and the Perizzite and the Hivite and the Jebusite, just as the Lord your God has commanded you, lest they teach you to do according to all their abominations which they have done for their gods, and you sin against the Lord your God. And so in order to trick the Israelites into making a covenant with them, the Gibeonites resort to the scheme of being ambassadors from a foreign country. According to Deuteronomy chapter 20 verse 10 to 18, God made a distinction between the Canaanites and the people who live outside the promised land. The word translated as craftily or cunningly can be used with a positive meaning denoting prudence and wisdom. And we can check out that from Proverbs chapter 1 verse 4. And Proverbs chapter 1 verse 4. Proverbs chapter 1 verse 4 says, to give prudence to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion. The young man knowledge and discretion. Let us also check out Proverbs chapter 8 verses 5. Proverbs chapter 8 verses 5 and verses 12, which says, O you simple ones, understand prudence, and you fools, be of an understanding heart. 12. I wisdom dwell with prudence, and find out knowledge and discretion. Let us also check out Exodus chapter 21 verses 14. Exodus chapter 21 verses 14, which says, but if a man acts with the premeditation against his neighbor to kill him by treachery, you shall take him from my altar that he may die. Let us also check out 1 Samuel chapter 23 verses 22. 1 Samuel chapter 23 verses 22. Just a second. 1 Samuel chapter 23 verses 22 says, please go and find out for sure and see the place where his hideout is and who has seen him there, for I am told he is very crafty. Let us also check out Psalms chapter 83 verses 3. Psalms chapter 83 verses 3. Psalms chapter 83. Psalms 83 verses 3, which says, they have taken crafty counsel against your people and consulted together against your sheltered ones. And so the explanation here says, the word translated as craftily or cunningly can be used with a positive meaning, denoting prudent and wisdom, according to Proverbs chapter 1 verse 4, Proverbs chapter 8 verse 5 and 12, or negatively implying criminal intent, like in Exodus chapter 21 verse 14 and 1 Samuel chapter 23 verse 22 and Psalms chapter 83 verse 3. In the case of the Gibeonites, behind their treacherous action lies a less destructive intent of self-preservation. The speech of the Gibeonites is strikingly similar to that of Rahab. Both acknowledge the power of Israel's God, and both acknowledge that Israelite success is not simply a human feat. In contrast to other Canaanites, they do not rebel against Yahweh's plan to grant the land to the Israelites. And they admit that the Lord himself is driving these nations out before Israel. The news of the deliverance from Egypt and the victories over Sihon and Og prompt both Rahab and the Gibeonites to seek an alliance with the Israelites. However, instead of fully acknowledging their willingness to surrender to the God of Israel, as Rahab does, the Gibeonites resort to subterfuge. The law of Moses made provisions for learning the will of God in such cases as in Numbers 27 verse 16 to 21. Let us check out Numbers 27 verses 16 to 21. And 16 to 21 says, "Let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, set a man over the congregation, who may go out before them and go in before them, who may lead them out and bring them in, that the congregation of the Lord may not be like sheep without which have no shepherd." And the Lord said to Moses, "Take Joshua the son of Nun with you, a man in whom is the Spirit, and lay your hand on him. Let him before Eleazar the priest and before all the congregation, and inaugurate him in their sight. And you shall give some of your authority to him, that all the congregation of the children of Israel may be obedient. He shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall inquire before the Lord for him by the judgment of the Urim. And his word they shall go out, and his word they shall come in. And he and all the children of Israel with him all the congregation." With him all the congregation. And so the law of Moses made provisions for learning the will of God in such cases as these. According to Numbers chapter 27 verse 16 to 21, Joshua should have inquired for the will of the Lord and avoided the deception of the Gibeonites. The fundamental duty of a theocratic leader and of any Christian leader is to seek God's will, according to 1 Chronicles chapter 28 verses 9. 1 Chronicles chapter 28 verses 9. Let us see what 1 Chronicles chapter 28. 1 Chronicles chapter 28. Sorry. 1 Chronicles chapter 28 verses 9 says, "As for you, my son Solomon, know the God of your father and serve him with a loyal heart and with a willing mind. For the Lord searches all hearts and understands all the intent of the thoughts. If you seek him, he will be found by you. But if you forsake him, he will cast you off forever." That is according to 1 Chronicles chapter 28 verses 9. And let us check out 2 Chronicles chapter 15 verses 2, which says, "And he went out to meet Asa and said to him, Hear me, Asa, and all Judah and Benjamin. The Lord is with you while you are with him. If you seek him, he will be found by you. But if you forsake him, he will forsake you." And let us check out also 2 Chronicles chapter 20 verses 4. 2 Chronicles chapter 20 verses 4, which says, "So Judah gathered together to ask help from the Lord, and from all the cities of Judah they came to seek the Lord." And so the fundamental duty of a theocratic leader and of any Christian leader is to seek God's will. And we have seen that from 1 Chronicles chapter 28 verse 9, 2 Chronicles chapter 15 verses 2, and 2 Chronicles chapter 18 verse 4, and 2 Chronicles chapter 20 verse 4. So by neglecting it, the Israelites were compelled either to violate the fundamental conditions of conquering the land, or to seek an oath made in the name of the Lord, which was equally binding. And so, by neglecting it, the Israelites were compelled either to violate the fundamental conditions of conquering the land or to break an oath made in the name of the Lord, which was equally binding. And so the big question for Wednesday, October 8 is, how often have you found yourself struggling between what appears to be conflicting biblical values? The big question is, how often have you found yourself struggling between what appears to be two conflicting biblical values? And that was Wednesday, October 8, and our title for Wednesday, October 8 was Conflicting Values. Conflicting values.